What's going on, everybody? CGA Got Game channel, also with the CGA Sports. Appreciate you for being here. Thanks again for subscribing to this channel. Check this out, man. Some breaking news here, but by the time you watch this video, this will be one of many stories that you've seen about this news. Unfortunately, LeBron James's son, Bronny James, has suffered a cardiac arrest during a workout, and we'll figure out the details of this, and was previously in the ICU, but he's been released from the ICU and is now in stable condition. And this is terrible news for the basketball world. Obviously, if you're a basketball fan, you are well aware of who LeBron James is, all-time NBA leading scorer, and his son, Bronny James, who has been in the spotlight for better or for worse, specifically for his playing ability, whether he was going to go to college, go to play in the development leagues and into the NBA, and possibly teaming up with his father on an NBA team. All right. And Bronny James's journey has taken him through one of the top prep schools, Sierra Canyon, all the way into being a four-star recruit at USC. All right, not UCLA, USC. Now, here's the deal. This is terrible news for the family, and, you know, we send our hopes and prayers to the LeBron James family, whether you like LeBron or you don't, whether you love him or you don't like him, whether you think he's a GOAT or not. This definitely isn't news that is going to be one of those things that are going to be taken easily. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or not. You do not want to see your child in this situation unconscious, and the ambulance taking them to the hospital. So hopes and prayers for the James family, and specifically for Bronny James. If you don't like LeBron, you definitely don't have to pass on hate to his children, because they definitely don't deserve that. And if you love LeBron, you definitely care for one Bronny James. Now here, check this out. The story goes that he's going to go to USC, and he's maybe might stay a year and possibly play with his father. Now, if he has a heart condition and something like that, something pre-existing that caused him to have the cardiac arrest, this is going to be an easy conversation. However, is America ready to have this tough conversation about a lot of these young athletes who have these conditions, especially within the last few years? And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about here. Related to the Pope, related to the Fauci flu. In this situation, unfortunately, you got to bring up the conversation. And America seems to not be ready to have this heartfelt conversation. At this time, this could be a great time. This could be a blessing in disguise for the rest of the world and the community to have a tough conversation about what's really going on here. Obviously, you've had soccer/football players over in Europe and other countries collapsing. Healthy men, previously healthy men, collapsing, all right, with no explanation. We've had performance artists, rappers, musicians completely falling, and some of them dying and losing their lives. Not only that, you had Damar Hamlin last year on Monday Night Football taking that hit to the chest and basically losing his life on the field, and then being able to be resuscitated after the fact. And there were conspiracy theories related to if it's really him. All of that stuff has been proven to be, true. In fact, that it was him, and he's considering coming back. Now, here's the deal. He had a pre-existing condition, or it was one of those things that just happened, right? It was like the freak injury of all time, and it took the world by storm, and it opened up a conversation. Now, when these conversations open up, you immediately get a deflect, which I think is not fair in our country, that these topics can't come up. Now, of course, we don't want to use a person's negative experience, bad experience, their near-death experience to bring up political topics or somewhat topics related to things that are controversial. This wouldn't be fair to the family, for LeBron, for the young man himself. I'm sure he doesn't want to be wrapped up into this conversation, but a conversation is needed, America today. A conversation is needed. No, we don't need to deflect the conversation because you're uncomfortable with the conversation, but something needs to be explained here, and it just can't be the same old. It can't just be the tagline. It just can't be, well, it is what it is. In fact, I'm old enough to remember Hank Gathers from Loyola Marymount University dying and collapsing and dying on the basketball court, and that was one of the that image. I remember watching it as a young man. That image, I remember the breaking news. Hank Gathers was going to be drafted into the NBA. He was going to he had Loyola Marymount and Paul Westheads with Bo Kimball shooting left-hand free throws for Hank Gathers in the NCAA tournament. I was old enough to remember the sight of that man dying and losing his life, collapsing on the floor. And I wish I should show you some imagery there, but I don't even want to show you the imagery because it's still in my brain now. And I think I couldn't be more than 10, 12, 13 years old. But the conversation, that would be a rarity. I think he would probably been one of very few members of the sports community to do that. Now, what we're seeing today, the year 2021, after pledging themselves and sticking out their arms and shoulders to be exposed to some things, suffering some heart-related diseases. In fact, they're talking about heart-related diseases being up. Now, if we're going to deflect the conversation once again, okay, and not addressing this in a timely fashion, then what's going to do is we're going to put it off to the next one and then the next one and the next one, and we won't have that difficult conversation. We won't suggest that people start taking precautions related to their sports, related to their health, related to these things that people have done voluntarily to themselves. And these conversations will continue to be deflected and will kick the can down the road. It's a hard conversation. Unfortunately, LeBron James is front and center, and he's going to be the face of this conversation. He's probably the biggest, well-known, recognized name to have suffered, unfortunately, this situation here. And it is time. Deflection and guilting people out of having a conversation and calling them tinfoil heads or conspiracy theorists is not going to be accepted. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to dig deep and have these conversations. Yes, it is not too soon. No, this poor guy we don't need to wait till he's recovered, because what will happen is, let me tell you what will happen. You don't have a conversation now. And then what will happen is a few weeks will go by and it'll be yesterday's news. So by the time that you bring it up and want to have the conversation, people will say, well, nothing happened. There's nothing to see here. We don't need to talk about it. You're bringing it up. You're bringing up the past. And we have the attention span of a gnat, so much so that by the time the stories reach 3 or 4 days, it's old news and no conversation has had it. They will say we will engage in the conversation once things have developed, and then what they'll do is say, oh, we moved on from that. That's old hat. That's old news. And then the conversation's never had. So listen, first and foremost, let's just put your prayers and wishes, whatever your beliefs are, into the recovery of one Bronny James. We want to see him back at full strength. Definitely want to see him playing on the basketball court for USC, fight on. And we definitely want to see him team up with some of the other high-level recruits that were brought in. Also, we want to say our prayer to and hopes to the family of the Jameses family, whether you like him or don't like him, whether you think he's the GOAT or not. He definitely is in a situation where he's been humanized, and potentially losing a child over this situation is one of the things that I could not imagine. Okay, I'm sure he's going through it. Also, for the basketball community can unite and rally around this situation here to look into the youth, so that these youths don't put themselves in the situation, right? The youth basketball players and the sports community at large do not put themselves in these situations where their athletes are being exposed to potential dangers of some things. And a conversation needs to be had for those young athletes, all right, going forward, all right? Not a political discussion, but for the young athletes going forward, so that high schools, AAU programs, college programs, all right, coaches aren't put in the predicament where they're dealing with athletes collapsing and, unfortunately, losing their lives. So anyway, do me a favor, hit the like button, put your commentary down below, and get this conversation started. Don't be afraid of the conversation. You might find out something that you didn't want to know. We might find out something that we didn't want to know. We might find out the truth. Let's get the conversation started. And LeBron James, the floor is yours. This is an opportunity to really bring out the truth about everything, all right? You might turn out to be like the quarterback from the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. We might find out that, in fact, that you did not take the pledge, and that would take on a story of its own, all right? This might open up additional conversation. Let the conversation be heard. Shout out to the Coach Gang. Hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and we out of here. Peace.